what we've tried to do in this room today is gather on off-takers of this product, right? And the product is, how do small firms behave? What are the trends and dynamics around small firms? How can we improve the sustainability of small firms? And as we know, Nigeria is a small firms country.
3 years of rapid growth defined as more than 50% growth year per year. Having 3 years of 50% growth in a row is not only not predictive of further growth, it is not even predictive of firm survival after 5 years. A firm who grew more than 50% a year for 3 years in a row was no more likely to still exist 5 years later than one that didn't grow at all over the course of those 3 years. We've been studying this group of firms, which we believe has been sort of a black hole. Not very many people have studied firms like this to really understand how they work, other than sort of surveys, do you exist, how much money do you make, but we've been following them every week already for 10 months. So we've got a lot of just descriptive data to share, and Laura will be running through that, but we also want to share what sort of patterns we see emerging from that descriptive data and get feedback from that. One of the reasons we're doing this in 7 different countries is to understand the differences between the countries. And of note right away is Nigeria answers the growing in profit question at a much higher percentage than in other countries. Now, I want you to think back to that slide that Laura presented that showed that the Nigerian firms are smaller and struggling more than in other countries. And we think that's a part of that. Is that, when you're smaller and struggling, obviously growing in profit becomes a little bit more important. You're not taking home enough money. But I think the other way to interpret that is even still, more than 50% of the firms are saying a key aspiration is to become more stable.
The unique thing about our study is its focus on employees. So as Tim mentioned, in the academic literature, we believe that this group of small firm owners is little understood. Although a lot of people have looked into micro enterprises, we understand a lot about what makes them work since the micro enterprise and microfinance movement starting in the 70s into today. On the other side, we understand a lot about firms that are a little bit more formal, a little bit more professional, that start to appear in sort of nationally representative studies and data that's collected. But we think there's a gap between those two categories that are small firms, their owners, and also their employees. Who are the employees that work for these small firms? What are their lives like? What are their jobs like? So these were our goals in embarking on this study. Our firms, we asked them, 81% of the firms in our sample needed startup capital. And where did they get that? For the most part, they got it from personal savings, from a family member, or from a friend. Only 7% used microfinance loans. So these are not firms that are served by MFIs primarily. And an interesting side note is that we checked the US data, and this is also the case for small firms in the United States, that banks and other financial institutions find it, perhaps unsurprisingly, very risky to invest in small startups.
If you're trying to give credit or give loans to this set of firms, it's got to be a lot more holistic. Because that small firm, family health issues, family education, all of those things affect how they respond to credit.
So what we do is in fact ask, who is the owner of the business? And if that is a single owner, male or female, sometimes there's more than one owner of a business, and then we want to know of those. Now, most of the mixed are a husband and wife, both reporting, and we delve into that. Who is the owner of the business is make sure that, but this is one of the questions I'm looking forward to talking to with our field research team, because in a lot of visits, I was in Colombia recently, one of our countries, and almost all of the businesses that report that there's a husband and wife together, it's the wife who's the boss and the husband who is the employee. And the husband is an owner because it helps get other services if he goes with her to the bank and other things. But he is not really an owner of the business. He's an employee of the business, and the wife is the boss. And so that's one of the things we're interested in sort of delving into. Origin of the way the microfinance industry developed globally comes from a movement in the 1970s of the overall development industrial complex, moving from focus on very large firms to more of a poverty focus. And if we're going to have a poverty focus, then we need to sort of move away from these big firms and down to smaller firms.
Women have always been more in business than men. This is very traditional. The only difference is that male seems to be engaging in higher valued or higher perceived businesses than women.
One thing that is clear is that on the business side, we need to really think about customer centricity. That's really about what we're talking around, knowing our customers and understanding how they do business.
We are trying to understand the hidden financial lives of small firms. So firms that employ between 1 and 20 people, to understand the challenges that they face and how we can help them overcome those challenges and barriers.
And the whole idea is to be able to study how small businesses behave in a very in-depth way. What they do, how they collect loans when they wake up, how they sell, everything that affects their routine life over a very long period.
We go to these firms and we convince them to meet with us once a week every year and follow all of their cash flows. And then we put all that data together to really understand the challenges they face, the decisions they're making, why they're in business, what their aspirations are, what they hope to get out of their business, and what their possibilities for growth are.
For me particularly was the fact that the data really showed that there is some myths about the survival of small firms.
Today's findings are really to engage the community and the ecosystem to better understand how we can work together to solve and address the productivity and growth of small firms. But not just their growth, but also their stability to ensure that they can continually thrive and grow and continue to contribute to Nigeria's economy.